Welcome to a brand new episode of the PopeCast. After a short hiatus of a couple weeks, we're finally back bringing another installment of this. I have my topics picked out. I've been on vacation, so I'm really excited to be talking about tons of topics. The PopeCast is for you guys to answer questions, give me topics, but it's also for me to pick movie topics, video game topics, and even TV topics that I don't want to just make a separate video for, but throw into a bunch of discussions of one just giant video. So here we are, another episode of the PopeCast. I am so ready. So let's just get to the first topic. And the first topic of today is easily going to be, let's get it, to Blade Runner 2049 is failing at the box office. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably Blade Runner fans just as much as me. I'm not the biggest diehard fan of the classic Blade Runner, but I really did like Blade Runner 2049. For people who didn't catch my review of that, let me just tell you, I absolutely loved Blade Runner 2049. I gave it the best score possible that I could. I think Denis Villeneuve, this is easily a masterpiece to add to his collection of films that I honestly think are all masterpieces. Enemy, Prisoner, Sicario, whatever you want to say about it. I found Blade Runner 2049 to be fantastic in every ounce of way. And with saying that, I'm a little disappointed to see that it's not making money, but I kind of saw this coming. To be honest, I didn't think this was going to be a mega powerhouse hit. And from the scene this weekend, it's falling almost 60% in the box office, which is so disappointing. I wish more people would see this film, but I understand it's kind of hard to invest time into this film because it's a 3-hour runtime. It's a 3-hour runtime, so that's already hard right there. But then you also throw in some more aspects, being that it's not a film for everyone. This isn't a sci-fi action film. This is a sci-fi epic with an epic story, and it's a slow burn moving film. It's not one of the fastest paced movies, and it's actually kind of slow at times. It actually is one of the slowest paced movies I've seen, but it's slowly paced at a perfect timing. It's not like the first Blade Runner, which I would even say that if you didn't like the first Blade Runner, you should probably even see this one, because I found Blade Runner 2049 to do everything better that the first one could have done wrong, and also improve on everything that the original did perfectly. That's what Blade Runner 2049 did so phenomenally, and I really wish, I just kind of wanted to put this topic here, because if you haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 yet, and you are a sci-fi junkie or an epic, or you're a big fan of the first one, you're like, I don't know what to think of it, go and check it out. I think you guys won't be disappointed. I think there's so much to love about this brand new Blade Runner that it's really easily one of the best films of this year, and one of the best films of all time. Sorry, I really do think it's going to be hailed as a classic 20 years from now. And I haven't said that about a film in a very long time. I think the last film I literally said will be most likely a classic would probably have been, I could see La La Land getting up there, even maybe Ex Machina. But I can also state, I think the very last one I really saw was The Dark Knight, and that's really it. That there's not a lot of films that I would hail to be a classic, or to be a classic in years on. Now, time will tell if Blade Runner 2049 will live that long, or if people will actually even remember it, or people will just remember the beginning. But really, I think you guys should go check out Blade Runner 2049. It's really a phenomenal film, and I understand why it doesn't appeal to everyone. It's rated R, it's a 3-hour runtime, it's hard to invest in that, but I think you guys should give it a try out, because there's not a lot of good films out right now. They're just okay, but trust me, Blade Runner 2049 is worth your time. But going from there, we are moving on to the next awesome topic, and that is Star Wars The Last Jedi, the trailer. Now, if you've seen my channel and you've been following me for a while, or if you're new, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. I do a lot of trailer reactions, but I did do a trailer reaction for Star Wars The Last Jedi, trailer 2, and man, I cried. I cried. This was back on Monday, but I kind of wanted to talk about this because I had some theories, I had some thoughts about Star Wars The Last Jedi and its trailer. So, where do I start at? I mean, God, first, let's get out some of my favorite shots throughout this film. I know a lot of the trailer is probably just kind of hiding away or kind of cut together to make us think and look kind of like the whole ending scene with Kylo and Rey. I don't believe they're in the same room. I think she's actually talking to someone else, and he's talking to someone else as well. But if it actually is true, I would freak the shit out if that actually did happen. But some of my favorite images in here, Kylo Ren flying his TIE fighter, kind of bursting around, shooting, it just looked beautiful. And then, of course, the Porg and Chewbacca, I freaked out on. I love Chewie, he's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, but also the Porgs, they look so adorable, and I can't wait to see how they interact with all the other characters in here. But really, I think the main standout I want to say in here is Luke Skywalker. I loved seeing him here. His voice, he's giving a really trembling, like you can tell he is fearing someone. I think the whole trailer is talking about Rey. Snoke in the beginning. At first it kind of misdemeans that maybe it's talking about Kylo Ren, and same thing with Luke. Maybe Luke is talking about Kylo Ren. But I think now he is talking about Rey. This whole trailer is about Rey and how powerful she is. And we saw in Force Awakens how she destroyed Kylo Ren. You can call her Mary Sue, whatever. I understand the arguments against that. But really, she was powerful. And a little OP at times. But this film, I'm hoping, will explain more on that. And I think we get to see that. We see Snoke talking about her. Well, people are theorizing. I do believe in that. And it was really cool to actually see Snoke show up in the trailer in the flesh. She looks awesome. The CGI could have been used a little touched up, but I know when the film actually comes out, it'll look great. And Andy Serkis playing Snoke, I mean, I can't wait. But just seeing her presence and how she was, and when she's screaming and you see his hand out and him using the Force, or what it looks like to be the Force, just looks brilliant. But really, I think the main thing that a lot of people are wondering is Kylo Ren and Rey. Is Rey going to turn to the dark side, or vice versa? Is Kylo Ren going to turn to the light, or vice versa? Are they one going to go to the light, one's going to go to the dark? There's been a lot of theories about that, and I'm on the train that I would actually really like to see Rey become part of the dark side and Kylo turn back. I know some people aren't big fans of that. I mean, I'm not going to like jump up and down if it happens, but I kind of want it to happen. It's something different that we wouldn't have seen in Star Wars, and I'm curious to see what they do, and I'm also curious to see if we have to find out who Rey's parent and lineage is. I think that's a big discussion there. So comment down below. Tell me, do you think we're going to find out who Rey's parents are and where she came from? Or do you think she's actually going to go to the dark side, or do you think I'm just speculating? Do you think it's just all coy to get people into the theaters? Because let me tell you, I got my seats. I bought 3 times to make sure I see it 3 times opening weekend. Because Force Awakens, that was my biggest regret. I had to wait a whole week. Yes, that's first world problems. I had to wait a whole week to see the next Star Wars. And that's all right. I saw it opening night. I wanted to see it again. I couldn't. I had to wait. And it was worth the wait. I love Star Wars Force Awakens. I really, really loved it. It brought me back to my childhood. And that's what I want The Last Jedi to do. I want Last Jedi to kind of be darker, and I think that's what Rian Johnson's going to give us. Some other speculation I've also seen throughout the trailer is, will Princess Leia die? I think they're going to send her character off in a very brilliant way, but I don't think that was her death in the trailer at all. I would be very disappointed if they showed that in the trailer. I hope that a lot of scenes in the trailer weren't from the ending, though. Some of those scenes I kind of got a vibe that like, oh, it's from the ending. I hope not, but I could be surprised, and I really hope so. I think Rian Johnson's crafting a really good Star Wars film, and like I said, there's so many theories going around that this trailer opened up. I think the next trailer, though, I'm done watching. Force Awakens, it was the same thing. I watched the first 2, and then I was done after that. I think the same thing with this one. I'm totally done. Rogue One, I only watched 1 trailer for as well. I wasn't huge on Rogue One. I like it, but it's not one of the best Star Wars films, in my opinion. But if you think so, comment down below. Argue with me. Why do you think Rogue One's the best? But I think the main question I want coming from after the Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer is, 1, what did you guys think of it? 2, what are some theories that you have after watching the trailer? And 3, will Rey go to the dark side? Let's talk about that. And also, I'm thinking about doing a theory video for who Rey's parents are, because I have my own theories to that. So I'm not going to get into that whole discussion because I have my own theories for that, but look out for that soon. Moving on with that segment, we're talking about Star Wars. We're also talking about video games because that's what I like doing on this podcast. Instead of just making separate video game videos, I like talking video games, and 2 big video games that I've actually been waiting a while to pick up finally debuted this week, and we got Shadow of War, the new Middle-earth game, which is a sequel to Shadow of Mordor, which was a very surprising game, in fact. And then, of course, Evil Within 2, which I absolutely adored the first Evil Within. I found the first one to be actually really scary. The atmosphere was there. It was very tense. And it was just a very unique game that I actually really liked and brought me back to my old Resident Evil Silent Hill vibes that I really was happy to see here. And let me tell you, both these games are phenomenal. I'm more into Shadow of War. I haven't played a ton of Evil Within yet. I've only just started it. But from what I've been playing, I can tell you surely that this is a great sequel to the first one already. Now, time will tell how the rest of the game tells, so I don't really want to talk about a lot about the Evil Within 2. But I will say so far, if you are a fan of the first game, just as much as I was, it's totally a buy. It really is. It carries that atmosphere. We get some more story and character that I think the first game was missing, because there wasn't a lot of character development unless you kind of just went around finding the clues. But there is some freaky stuff in Evil Within 2. And I'm hoping that the story that they're building up right now, it's kind of generic. I think that's my one problem with it, but it doesn't seem like it's going to get as convoluted as the first one was. And I kind of just want to be scared and tense the whole time, because that's what my favorite part about the first Evil Within was. But I want to talk about Shadow of War. I mean, Shadow of War. This takes place, from what I read and from what I can tell, it takes place right before The Hobbit. And man, fantastic game. Already, if you have not picked up the game, you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, go pick it up. This game is so addicting and so hands-on, so I'm just so into the game that it's hard for me to put down. That's why I have not played a lot of this game, because I've constantly been playing Shadow of War. Shadow of War has taken over my life, and it is addicting to say the least. The combat is fluent as ever. It's kind of like Assassin's Creed mixed with Batman Arkham. So if you like both those games, you're going to love the combat in here. The graphics in here could be a little bit more polished. They are better than the first game, but a lot of the detail, a lot of the landscape, a lot of the courageous kind of stuff we do see from the Lord of the Rings, you get to see here. Orcs, it's a great feeling grabbing an orc, chopping its arm off, going around, cutting its head off, and then coming around and stabbing it again to make sure it's finally dead. It's great to decapitate in here. The ground executions, all the execution moves are fantastic. The stealth in here is actually really good as well, just like in the first game. The first game had a lot of very well done stealth, but Shadow of War carries on that stealth, and it's just another fantastic thing to see. Just the game and the story for this one so far is actually more engaging already than the first one was at all. And this one is very much more engaging. And then adding on to the Nemesis system, which if you guys haven't played the first game, I'm going to explain what the Nemesis system is. The Nemesis system pretty much is you go to each of these areas and there's a set of orcs that lead an outpost. There's warlords, there's chiefs, and there's sergeants, lieutenants, whatever. You actually can go through and kill each one and try to lower down the ranks, so when you do attack the outpost, it's not strong. Maybe you can recruit some of these people to be a part of your army. There's tons of things you can do. You can send death threats. You can send ways so you can send one guy to assassinate another person if you need be. So say you want to kill off this guy, but you don't want to do it yourself. You can go send a death threat, do a quest to make sure that he does good in it, and then when you go to attack the outpost, this dude will assassinate them. And I picked this little dinky little orc who, like, I was like, oh god, he's gonna have to go up against this big ass dude. Literally shot in the back, killed him. It was such a satisfying moment to see. That's how much engaging the game is. But the game is also very smart in a lot of ways with the Nemesis system. I absolutely adore it, and I absolutely love what Shadow of War is building up here. So honestly, go pick up Shadow of War. Evil Within 2, I'm going to have to play a little bit more of. I might be live streaming some gameplay for that, so look out for that if I do. But Shadow of War is guaranteedly a buy. Evil Within 2, I would recommend right now if you love the first one. If you're kind of skeptical and you didn't really like the first one, maybe kind of wait on it and see what I think of it later. But it has been getting some good reviews, so I'm curious to see what the rest I think of Evil Within 2. But really, Shadow of War, fantastic sequel to the first game, and I'm almost done with it. So I hope the story doesn't let me down anymore, but the Nemesis system's 10 times better. The combat, the gear, everything is just superbly done better than the first one, and it's engaging as hell. Moving on to more of a serious topic that I was going to do a separate video on, but I feel like I should just discuss it on my podcast, because the PopeCast is about entertainment, TV, movie, video games, whatever. But a serious topic did come over the last week, and when I was in California, I was on Twitter heading back, and I see that Harvey Weinstein, all this stuff's coming out of him. And I mean, Harvey Weinstein has produced some fantastic films, but it makes me disgusted by the guy. But also, another closer to home kind of thing for me would be learning about Andy Signore from Screen Junkies. And if you guys haven't heard about any of this, pretty much with Harvey Weinstein, stuff that's going on with him is that some allegations from some actresses pulling out that pretty much he was sexually harassing them or sexually raping them, using his power to get to that. It's just despicable. You can look up more on that. But Andy Signore, if you don't know, he's actually been fired from Screen Junkies officially, which is insane. I watch Screen Junkies every week. Honest trailers, movie fights. And Andy Signore was the main part of Screen Junkies. Don't get me wrong, Dan Murrell, all of them. Dan Murrell, Hal Rudnick, all of them at Screen Junkies are fantastic. But Andy Signore is one of the main core people, and it's awful to hear that what he did was he's been using pretty much the same thing that Harvey Weinstein's been doing. He's been doing this to fans. He's been doing this to other people that we follow. You have April, JTE's girlfriend. If you guys watch Schmodown, you know who JTE is. He's been threatening JTE's job. Just tons. And pretty much you can look into this. Like I said, look it up. Go on YouTube. Go on Google. You can find so much more articles on this. I just want to discuss more of my thoughts on how disgusted I am for this. And how we should stand with these girls. It takes a ton of bravery to do what they did. And to hear all this disgusting stuff that is coming out about Harvey Weinstein or even freaking Andy Signore, it's despicable. And Harvey Weinstein, like, I want to kind of not talk about that as much because you guys have it's been egging on. But Andy Signore is a more closer to subject for me where, like I said, I watch Screen Junkies almost every week. And I saw some people, like, freaking out. Well, like, why aren't you guys going back to your job? I think you guys need to understand that, like, they need time to, like, process this. They just found out that one of their closest friends that they've been working with for years had been doing all this stuff behind their back. And it would not ruin their brand for some people, but Defy Media, the people who actually own Screen Junkies, there's so much stuff coming out that, like, they didn't do anything about this. Their HR had been called and no one had figured this out. And I totally support what Screen Junkies is doing. I don't care if we get another Honest Trailer. I don't care if we get another movie fights at this point. I just want to make sure that everyone in this subject is okay and that everyone that's happened, that this gets dealt with. Because the people who kind of hid this under the ground should be fired. Absolutely fired. It is a joke that it even lasted that long. It's just gross. I can never look at Andy Signore again. And my thoughts go out to his family as well, his wife and his son. It's just so despicable to me. And that, I think that's the most heartbreaking thing for me, is knowing that the dude had a family. And same with Harvey. Harvey had a family too. These people deserved better than what their husbands gave to them. And it's just so despicable. I know you guys probably have thoughts about this too. So I want you guys to comment down below and tell me what were your thoughts. What were your reactions? Because my reaction was, I'm driving to California. I look at Twitter and I'm stunned. I'm like going through the articles trying to figure out where this started at. And the more and more times people started coming out more about Andy or more about Weinstein, it's just gross. I don't want to get into details of what they were doing. It's just, like I said, you can look into those. I just wanted to say that, like, my thoughts go out to all the people. I support the women who came out against these people. 100%. Actors, actresses, movie reviewers, other YouTubers who we see all the time miss movies. All these other people. My thoughts go out to you guys and the families that were hurt by this. Because you guys all deserve better. No one deserves what they went through. I'm stunned. And I honestly support Screen Junkies in kind of halting everything. I think they need answers. I think JTE needs answers. I think Dan Murrell, everyone there, Joe Starr, Hal Rudnick, they all deserve answers. And once they get them, who knows where they go from there. But Screen Junkies is forever changed now. And I'm curious to see how they address this later on in their shows and how they kind of deal with this. I'm glad they're not just sweeping under the rug and going right in. No, they are seriously taking a halt and showing that, no, this is a serious issue that we need to handle. And I fully support that. And I think you guys should too. So make sure to give Screen Junkies a support, love, slap them on the back, tell them how much you guys love them and how much you support them. You'll still be there when even after production is halted or whatever happens next with them. They're all fantastic. And I can't wait to see what they do next. But again, guys, it's just sick to me. And I want to hear what your guys' thoughts were on that. But moving on to a higher topic, a more fun topic, less than that, is I actually discovered this show on Netflix. And this will be where we're ending the show today. I was going to do a separate review on this, but I wanted to just talk about it on this podcast. I was thinking, what can I do on this podcast? And I want to talk about American Vandal. It's been a couple weeks since the show came out. It did debut on Netflix, and American Vandal is one of the best shows I've seen this year. Man, is it beautifully entertaining. It's so funny. If you guys don't know what American Vandal is, it's a mockumentary. It's kind of filmed like, a mockumentary. It's a documentary, but it's fake. It's funny. It's supposed to be. So it's kind of filmed like The Office, Parks and Rec. It feels less scripted, actually. It really does feel like a fully documentary movie. And pretty much the movie is about a guy who, these two kids are trying to prove his innocence after a bunch of cocks got spray painted on cars. And they're trying to prove his innocence because he's in high school, he got expelled, and they're trying to prove that he didn't do it. And the fact is, this show is so funny. It's so clever, too. And it's one of the best 4 hours you'll ever spend watching a show, because the main thing is, the show keeps you so intrigued and so hooked on such stupid subjects. Like, there's one thing where, and everything actually ties together towards the end, which is actually really nice. So there's one subplot in here where it's wondering, did Becky give a hand job to this kid? Because if she didn't, then he was lying, and this could lead back to this and that. And really just the fact that, like, the whole subplot on did Becky give someone a hand job is entertaining and funny at the same time. You don't see shows doing this, or especially mockumentaries like this. Mockumentaries take on more of a serious subject, but this is really funny. It's student filmmakers, and it really inspired me in some ways. But, like, it's so intriguing when you get funny, and it's funny at the same time because you're like, so did Becky really give that kid a hand job? Ew, if she did. And you just start finding out more and more and more. But you also find out, like, well, did Dylan do it? Did Dylan spray paint the cars with the dicks? No, it might be this. No, it might be this person. And it keeps you hooked the whole entire time. I like, really liked American Vandal. I was very surprised by the show in general. I don't want to spoil anything because it's more better to go in not knowing anything. Kind of just go in, you know the plot. Because that's what hooked me. I saw my friend Justin watch his movies review it, and it kind of hooked me. And then I saw Jan Campia talk about it, and I was like, okay, I have to watch it. Like, this must be a very funny show if it's getting all this garnering. It does. I think it should get some Emmy nominations too. The two leads in here, the two main kids, are fantastic. They give some of the best performances on TV that I've seen in a while. And for me, Netflix has been killing the game, not on movies per se. I think some of their movies are fine. I'm looking forward to Bright really much, but their TV shows are fucking awesome. House of Cards, the Marvel series, but Stranger Things. I mean, you look at American Vandal now, and this is just another addition to it. Do I want to see a second season of American Vandal? I would. It would obviously have to be a different set of kids, I would say. Or if you did follow these kids again, you would have to find a different story for them to follow. But I don't know if they could actually live up, or if this should just be a mini-series. Because American Vandal is an awesome show. It was just super funny. It's intriguing in the weirdest of ways, where you're hooked on wondering if Becky gave someone a hand job. And it's just really, it's awesome. I was very shocked by American Vandal, and I hope you guys go check it out as well. Really, if you're looking for something just to pass the time on Netflix, I think you guys should try it out. First episode's only 30 minutes, so you can easily binge watch that in just one day. You can watch the show in one day and get it over with. And tell me down your thoughts if you've seen American Vandal, or now are you intrigued? Because if you're intrigued to find out if someone drew a cock on a car or not, it's funny. Trust me, I promise. But guys, that is the end of the PopeCast. This was an awesome episode. I'm so glad to be back doing the PopeCast. I'm trying to do this either every week or every 2 weeks until I get the schedule down. Like I said, I want you guys' feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like? What subjects did you like? Should I start doing a Q&A part? If you think so, make sure to leave some comments down below so I can answer some questions for the next PopeCast. But as well, guys, what was your favorite topic I discussed today? And I want you guys to make sure to join in on the discussion. If you're new, make sure to like and subscribe as well. And as always, stay classy and have a great rest of your day.